Good evening, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I'm very excited about today's show. I just want to thank you guys. Well, let me clean my camera there. It looks a little dirty. I just want to thank you guys. Hey, thank you for joining me today. I'm very excited to have our special guest on today, Kenneth Benjamin, who is a great leader in our community, right? Coming in and just excited to hear what he has to say about liquid honey, right? Or liquid gold. He calls honey liquid gold. So we are waiting for him to pop in, and he is going to tell us all about his journey and experience with honey and how he decided to, start this whole process. So I just want to thank you guys for popping on. I also want to encourage you to go to last week's episode of What's the 411. And we were talking with last week Nicole Salmon, and I was telling her that she definitely has to pop back on. She's going to be coming back on the show. We're very excited to have her back on because I felt like last week we were only just starting to get into the real seriousness of what she was talking about. So I can't wait for her to come back on. I can't wait for her to talk and give us more tea. You know what I mean? She was giving us some real gems to go by last week on just finding purpose, right? And just looking into what your purpose is. So we're super excited about having Nicole on again. Whenever she's ready to come back on, we'll definitely be booking her. I just seen Kenneth hop into the chat. So Kenneth, whenever you're ready, just pop on and we will definitely start the conversation because we're all excited to hear about your experience and all about this liquid honey. So you definitely gotta hop on, send the request in, and we'll start the conversation. I don't know about you guys, but I have been definitely enjoying this weather. I've been outside. I hope you guys have been getting outside too and enjoying the weather. It's just beautiful out there. We had I think a rainy day last week, maybe one rainy day or two rainy days, but really that's it. Oops, sorry, what am I doing here? There we go. It's been great. So I hope you guys have been getting out to enjoy that weather. All right. Make sure you guys enjoy the weather. Enjoy that weather. All right. Very excited.
Hi, can you see me?
I can't see you yet. It says it's loading. So let's see.
It's frozen over my
It's doing its thing. Wow, wow. So let's see. It's coming. It's coming. Jeez. Last week, Instagram was being very, very, disrespectful to us last week. So we're hoping that, Instagram just allows us to do our thing this week. We shall see. I can hear, I think, but I can't see anything.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Let me refresh it.
Hmm.
You want me to send the request again?
I'm going to exit out and then send the request again, and we'll try one more time. Okay? Okay. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Last week Instagram popped off our thing. Like it's just so wrong. So wrong, Instagram. So wrong. But it's okay. We are going to be great anyways, right? We need the message. So let's go. Let's see. Hopefully this one works. I still can't see you,
Oh,
but I could hear you though, which is so weird.
yeah, I don't know what's going on. Let me try logging in.
I could hear you though, which is so weird.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Let me try logging in.
I could hear you though, which is
Still nothing.
still nothing. It's like a feedback too,
Yeah.
because it keeps coming in and out.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me troubleshoot. Let me
Okay.
right.
All right. So, oh, okay. So we're just going to try it one more time, or we'll try until we get it because I could hear him, but I can't see him. So thank you guys all for popping on. I'm so excited to hear about this Lignum honey, the liquid golds. So I'm glad that you guys are popping on to join us and hear the conversation. You know what I mean? Yes. So earlier I was just talking about a couple of our other episodes. If you want to see more from What's the 411, make sure you guys log on to my Instagram and check out the other interviews that I've done in the past. I just want to send a big shout out to It's the Best Honey Ever, eh? I'm not even gonna lie, I made some iced tea today. So I'm drinking that with the honey. And you use it every day. So tell me, what do you use it for? Like, what else do you, because I made some chicken wings today, and those chicken wings, I was licking, I'm like, I can't eat this online. Because at first I was like, what could I do to put, and I could, while he's telling us about the honey, I'll just be eating, some stuff with the honey on it. And I'm like, I can't be eating. This is crazy. It just tastes so good. And then I'm like, I could drink. So I made an iced tea and I put the honey in there. But what do you use it for? Share, Natural Mystic Hair Studio, share. Um, But yeah, so I just want you guys to be encouraged to go over to What's the 411 and your ginger tea. That's a good one. Ginger tea in the mornings all day, pretty much. I love my tea. I'm gonna definitely try that. Okay, so here is Kenneth again. We're gonna try to see if this works. Barbecue sauce. I know I tried it with the barbecue sauce today on the chicken wings. It was just out of control. It was so good. Ah, it came
So,
through. We can see you now. Wonderful. Awesome.
nice to see you again.
Yes. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I heard I heard little tidbits of you talking about how you were using the honey.
Yes. So yesterday, as soon as I got the honey, of course, I'm like, I'm not gonna wait till tomorrow. I gotta try it right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I tried the mountain coffee one, and then I just tried a little bit because you warned me about the Scotch bonnet one, and
yeah,
yes, it is spicy, but it's
yeah.
delicious. Very, very good.
Definitely,
So I
definitely.
tried it with some chicken wings today, and then I made some iced tea that I'm having right now, and this tastes great.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm glad. I'm glad that you're enjoying it.
Yes, it's great. All right, so please introduce yourself. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your name.
Um, all right. Official government name is Kenneth Benjamin. Um, from Jamaica. Parents born in Jamaica. I was born in Jamaica. Lived there a bit before migrating to various parts of the world and then landed back in Canada. Um, married, have two kids, a son and a daughter, 15 daughter and 15 months son. So big gap,
Wow.
very interesting, teaching us all over how to be parents of a toddler again, but loving it.
Wow.
Um, just trying to I guess do something to make God proud, make my family proud, and make my culture proud. You know what I mean? So that's really it. That's me.
Okay, so what part of Jamaica are you from?
So my mom is from Trelawney and my dad is from Clarendon.
Hmm.
So I I was born in Sap Lamar, but going back to Jamaica, when we did live there, we were living in Kingston, but every time I go back, I'm between Kingston, Clarendon, and Trelawney, so I'm kind of all over the place.
Okay, okay. So, where did you come up with this idea to do this honey business?
Um, well, I'm a true believer that anything we do is a sum of our experiences and failures and successes in life.
Hmm.
I've been blessed to have a lot of ideas that come to me. I have a huge folder on my phone with just ideas that come, and I don't know when I'll ever be able to use them, if I will, but I believe that we should document the ideas that come to us because at some point they will be useful to us. But a couple of years ago, I started tried my hand in the importing trade and importing specifically coconut oil from Jamaica.
Hmm.
So I was doing that for a bit, and then there was a decimation of the coconut crops in Jamaica, which kind of left us at a standstill because my orders were so small compared to the larger producers like Grace and stuff like that. So that kind of dried up that business for me before it really got on its feet. And then I just kind of kept on trying different things and different Jamaican products because I realized there was a need for Jamaican culture in products to be kind of, to be shown across the international market, right? There wasn't enough representation of what we can do. I mean, a lot of people, you ask people who aren't Jamaican, you know what I mean? What do you think of Jamaica in terms of produce? Your number one is going to be jerk chicken, right? Like off the top of the head, right? But Jamaica is so much more than that, right? So going back home last year, I took my family back home for a 3-week vacation in June. And when we were coming back, sitting on the plane, like I was sitting in the airport and I was like, wow, like there's so much honey in the stores. And then getting on the plane, seeing how many people have bought honey, and it's now, people have honey, coffee, and rum bottles. Back in the day, it would just be, everybody's got a Ray and Nephew or Appleton or, something like that, or pineapple rum or whatever. But now to see how many people had honey, I was like, how comes I can't get Jamaican honey in the stores in Canada? So coming back, I started doing some research to see kind of what was out there, who was doing it, who wasn't doing it, why they stopped, stuff like that, and found that there was really nobody in the Canadian space that was importing and selling honey in a way that had a strong brand and was consistent. So that was big to me, and I saw an opportunity there. And then looking at the North American market as a whole, I saw that there were a couple of brands that tried it and either didn't have any in stock for the longest while or kind of just fizzled out and just disappeared. So I was like, okay, let me take a look at this and see, if I can do this as maybe just, a side hustle, just something to do for fun that can earn me a couple extra dollars, to pay for my family's vacations and, buy me some extra kicks here and there kind of thing. But then I think it was in August, after doing a bunch of research, I was like, oh my gosh, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to actually just pick up and go back home and make contacts. It wasn't enough to sit and do the phone thing. Because if you know Jamaicans, we're face-to-face kind of people, and we're everything has to be on trust. If we don't trust you, we don't know you, we're not trusting you. Like, it's that simple. Especially with money, especially with business. So I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So my wife was like, you know what, one day, I think it was we were mulling it over for about 2 weeks. And then on a Monday, she's like, you just need to go. You just need to pick up and go to Jamaica. If you're going to take the shot to do this, just go. So literally the Tuesday, I booked a flight to Jamaica and flew out the Wednesday afternoon. Like, that's how quick the turnaround was. And it's funny, I'm a true believer that when you set your mind to something and you have a purpose in mind and a goal in mind, the universe kind of just starts to move with you. God just starts to open up doors. And it was crazy. Even going down on the plane, I was sitting beside a Chinese Jamaican. Shout out Jason if you're listening. And he was reading a book. I think it was called The 5 Essential Habits of Successful People. And it's a book that I have on my list to read. So I kind of leaned over and I was like, me being the, actively social person I am, I was just like, yo, how's the book? Like, I'm reading this one right now, but I want to get into that eventually. So we started talking about the book, and he started talking about his business back home and how he flies back and forth, and asked me what I'm going home for. So I was a little reluctant to share with him, but I eventually did, and I'm glad I did. And he put me in contact with some key people on the island in regards to export and trade. And he's actually the reason why I have the Scotch bonnet pepper honey. Like, that whole thing came about through that connection. So I just took a shot, went to Jamaica, literally got a car, and literally by myself drove across the island, meeting people, calling people, going to meetings. Hey, I'm here for this. This is what I'm trying to do. and I got such an amazing response and welcome from everybody. And some of those people are like people that I lean on heavily for information, not just about the marketplace and about honey in general, but how honey is created, understanding the trends, the seasonal trends of honey, because I was very ignorant to honey. I just thought, yo, bees make honey, like they make it,
Right.
whatever, like, you know what I mean? I didn't know that honey, there's over 300 different types of honey in North America alone, right?
300.
Over 300. I'm actually on a quest to taste as many as I can. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, so Lignum was born out of that step. And it was funny when I went down for the initial trip. One of my uncles was in Jamaica at the same time, and I didn't know. He wasn't living in Jamaica at that time, but him and his wife happened to be there. So I met up with him, and I gave him a sample of what I was able to grab while I was there, and we're talking it over, and he's like, "Yo, you kind of have something here. You might want to, you know." But and then it was funny. My aunt is usually the more reserved of I guess of people, and she kind of looked at me and goes, "So we kind of have a business here." And when she said that, I was like, "Huh? Okay, I see that, now it kind of started to, iron sharpens iron, right? We all make each other stronger and we're stronger together. We're stronger together." So when she said that, I was like, oh, okay. I might not be the only person that kind of sees something here. So that out of that trip, it really propelled me and fueled me to really push forward with this and see what the market can handle, see what the market would say about it, and go from there. So yeah.
Wow. So what have you learned about honey? Educate us, teach us some stuff.
I think the most basic thing, but the most important thing about honey is that natural honey is a product of not just the soil, but the climate, also the floral pattern of the area. So let's say you have a landscape that's, abundance of mango trees, right?
Mhm.
Your honey is going to be a total different color, a total different taste, a total different viscosity, which is texture, thickness of the honey, than say a honey that is produced by bees in an area where there's no mango trees whatsoever. And
Mm.
we can see that even in our honey, we have one that is a mango blossom and we have one that is a logwood honey. The logwood is the derivative of the logwood blossoms of the trees, and the mango, the same thing. If you look at them, one is extremely clear, sometimes almost clear as water, while the mango is very thick and very dark, and the tastes are very different as well. So that, I think, is the biggest misconception that people have, that all honey is the same. And I think that comes from the fact that a lot of people have never really tasted real honey. Like a lot of people, they buy honey that's in the stores, that's, they buy the little bear that's $3.99,
Right.
and no knock to it, but that's not real honey. It's not even 100% honey. A lot of the times it's mixed with syrups, it's mixed with chemicals, and it's mixed with honey that's outside of the region to get it to that standard. In addition to that, it's also pasteurized and heated. And
Right.
anything natural, if you heat it, you kill the color, you kill the taste, and you kill the mineral and nutritional value of that product. So
Mm.
I've had people that have hated honey all their lives, right? They hate the taste of honey. They're never tasting honey. I said, you know what? Cool, but just entertain me. Try this, right?
Mm.
And they try our honey and they're like, whoa, but this is good. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's not that it's just good, because yeah, our product, we pride ourselves in providing a quality product, but it's also that you probably have never tasted real honey before in your life,
Mhm.
right? You don't know what real honey tastes like, right? As people say, there's levels to this, right? It's not just the little bear for $3.99. I mean, there's extreme levels to honey. So yeah.
Wow. Okay, so what does lignum, like where did that name specifically come from? Like what does that mean?
Okay, when we were starting, I think it was at about September, Octoberish, we were trying to come up with a name for the company.
Okay.
And we couldn't, like, we're playing around with liquid gold, we're playing around with sunshine gold, Jamaica gold, all of these different names, and we couldn't find one that kind of just had that, like, you know what I mean? Like we wanted a name where, you know, in fashion you hear Gucci and you're like, yeah, I ate that. Like, you know what I mean? We wanted that kind of impression when you heard the name. And me, my wife, and my son were driving somewhere, and she was doing, you know, looking up different stuff on her phone and trying to come up with names. And she's like, what about Lignum Vitae? And I was like, Lignum Vitae? Because Lignum Vitae is actually the national flower of Jamaica, right? So I wanted something that tied back to our culture. I wanted something that, you know, spoke to where I was from and what I was doing. So we're like, nah, man, Lignum Vitae, honey, nah, that's not working. So then she's like, what about just Lignum? Lignum honey. And I was like, what? Yeah, that can run. Like, and then I sent it out to my cousins. I sent it out to a couple of my boys. I'm like, yo, what do you guys think of this name? And everybody was like, yes. Like, yo, this is it. So that's how the whole name Lignum came about. And it's a perfect marriage between, you know, a high quality brand that we're trying to set, but also speaking to where we're from. And if you notice, the brand colors are black, green, and gold.
Yeah.
If you look on the label, in the background, there's a pattern of black and a deep green, and then our lettering is in gold. So we try to keep that color theme throughout the entire brand, because we want to always tie back to Jamaica and where it started and what it's about.
So how many different flavors do you guys have?
So currently we have the logwood blossom honey, we have the mango blossom honey, we have coffee blossom, which we get from the Blue Mountains of Jamaica. The bees harvest off of coffee flowers up there. Those are the three. Oh, sorry, and a multifloral honey. We have a multifloral honey that is just built off of an abundance of different flowers. There's not one single source flower that you can really identify and say this is like the main makeup of the honey. And then in addition, we have an infused honey, which is the Scotch bonnet pepper that you tried, where that's actually something we take and we manipulate and infuse the pepper flavor into the honey. So four natural flavors and one infusion. Okay.
So when you say natural honey, like what is natural honey? Like we know that the other honey, like I got it in my cupboard, you know, the little bumblebee guy. But you know, like what can I say? I have that honey. I've used it for years. But what makes this honey natural?
So
like 100%.
Okay, when you say we chose the word natural as opposed to organic, because a lot of people don't realize legally there's strong differences per food item when you say organic versus you say natural. We chose natural because we believe in 100% unadulterated product. So like the farmers that we get our honey from has to be committed to not only natural practices but also sustainable. So we don't believe in any kind of use of pesticides. We don't want to see anything near that. A lot of the honey that we get, actually all the honey we get, is so far off the beaten track that if you stand in the area, you cannot see a building. Like you can't see a tall building. You can't hear cars on the roadway. We make sure that, you know, we go that far out to do that. So that's part of it, but also it's also in the process that the honey goes through. There are variations in the process. As an example, the honey that you have in your cupboard that's in the little bear or whatever, that honey would have probably most likely gone through a heating process. A lot of farmers and extractors, they will heat the honey to make it easier to get off the comb and to bottle it easier, because honey at its natural state is extremely thick, right? Okay. So they heat it up so that way it can kill a lot of the pollen and the the bee wax and any bee particles that are left in the honey, but also to make it so that way it can run faster so they can bottle it. That kills a lot of the enzymes, a lot of the nutrients, a lot of the vitamins that are in the natural honey, kills the taste, everything, right? And so what we pride ourselves in is that we have a very simple process by which we extract the honey. We get the honeycombs and we extract it without any heat, and we extract it without any pasteurization. We don't alter the honey in any kind of way. We don't color it. We don't mix it with anything. As it comes from the comb, that's in the jar. Wow. That's how, think of literally, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen videos of beekeepers and they literally break off a piece of the comb and eat it. Yep. That's what we want in our jar. Okay. So if you notice, even if you look at, say, the coffee blossom honey that you have, it's got a very cloudy look to it, right? It's not clear. You can probably see little like pieces of pollen in there. If you look hard enough, or, you know, spread it out on something that's clear. That's because we don't believe in overfiltration, right? Okay. If you take out, you know, a lot of those little particles to a point, you're now killing the enzymes and the nutrients, and you're taking them out of the honey, right? So we try to make it as natural and straightforward and a simple process as we can to make sure we protect and respect the quality of product that the bees themselves make. Wow.
So, like, how long is the process for bees to make honey? Like, is it a super long process?
It can all depend on the region you're in. It can all depend on how far the bees have to travel for the pollen that they use for the honey. There's a lot of different factors that go into it. And it also depends on the type of honey you're trying to harvest, because depending on the time of year, as an example, logwood, for example, in certain regions of Jamaica will blossom, the flowers on the tree will blossom between January and, say, April-ish. So that's at the end of that time is when, or during that time, as the bees collect and make the honey, that's when they'll harvest it, right? And then after that time, when the flowers are gone, you can't get any logwood honey because there's just no pollen to have it, right? So it all depends. Like there's seasonal aspects, and this is another thing I've learned is that honey, different types of honey come in different times, right? Right now we have absolutely no multifloral honey, and that's what has been one of our customer favorites, and there is absolutely none because it's just not the season for it. And I've had to explain to people, and it's not their fault. It's just they just have never been exposed to this information. They'll call and be like, "Oh, how comes you don't have this? How comes you don't have that?" And I have to explain the fact that, listen, natural honey comes whenever it comes. Right. You know what I mean? Because they're always used to going into the store and seeing that little bear, and it's consistently there, right? No matter if it's an ice slate outside, Canadian honey's on the shelf. You know what I mean? True. But natural raw honey, we have to wait on the bees and nature to do their thing, right? And these things can be impacted by drought. It can be impacted by hurricanes. It can be impacted in air pressure systems, right? So if there's a hurricane, say, in Haiti, which is pretty close to Jamaica, that can affect the air pressure in Jamaica, which will then affect, you know, the how frequently or if the flowers bloom at all for a certain flower. That's then going to affect the honey that these bees are able to produce and how long it takes them to gather enough pollen to produce it. So yeah, it's a crazy thing when you get down to it. But I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I love it. It's God's creation. It's God's complex formula that he's put together in motion, right? So
yeah. So like, how many different ways can we use honey? And what is really honey good for? Like, you're talking about all these natural things that are just good for our bodies, different, you know, enzymes and stuff. Like, what is honey good for?
Well, ancient wise, honey's been, if we go back to ancient times, honey was used as a medicinal ingredient first and foremost. It was used for creating medicines and herbal antidotes and toxins to help strengthen your body, to help ward off diseases, colds, such and so forth. In addition, it's still used by a lot of hospitals and medical practices to help with burns, because the enzymes in the honey activate certain cellular, processes. Now, I'm not the medical expert. That's my wife. That's the nurse. But in as far as simple as I can put it, the enzymes in the honey activate and assist and kind of fuel your body in producing the cellular structures and chemicals in your body to fight and heal burns and cuts. So if a lot of practices, if you get a cut or a burn, they'll rub honey underneath the gauze or the applicable material they're putting on it, and then apply it to the wound or the cut or the burn, sorry. And it will assist in actually allowing the cut and the burn to heal much faster.
Wow.
So those are the ways that we've been using honey for centuries. But I mean, honey, you can use honey in anything that you can use sugar and anything and above that. So your teas, in your salad dressings, in your sauces for when you're cooking, just as a topping, like that Scotch bonnet pepper honey. I literally, as I'm done cooking, I just drizzle some on. I don't care what I'm eating, right? I just drizzle some on. Like, it just gives like the sweetest of flavors and that little kick that just hits you in the back of your throat that you're like, yes, this is what I want. So tea, salads, baking. Baking's huge. You can use it in your baking. You can use it just, for your snacks, for your honey toast, for just different toppings. You can use it in your oatmeal. People use it a lot for your skincare as well. Believe it or not, honey is amazing for your skin. So a lot of people use it in masks.
Yeah.
And your hair as well. I mean, people put it in their concoctions that they make for their hair, that they use to treat their hair. It's amazing for all of those things. So you can use honey in so many different ways.
Yes. Okay, so talk about liquid gold. Where did you get this name from? I love that name.
So when we in the process of putting the company together and the brand together, I don't remember who I was talking to about it, but we're talking about what we want people to think about when they hear Lignum. What people, because the brand is more than just a word, right? It's also sight, touch, smell, taste. It's all your senses, right? The greatest brands, they adhere to as many senses as they can, right? And they bring you an experience that is just above everything else. And that's one of the reasons why we coined the term, taste the experience, because Lignum honey is not just a product, it's actually an experience. We want, when you taste Lignum, you taste Jamaica, you taste the culture, you taste the floral landscape, you taste the heat of the island, you taste everything, you taste the earth. Like, it's an experience. So when we were talking about all of that and putting that together, we were like, this stuff is golden, like, it's gold. And we're like, but it's liquid gold, like, it's liquid. And we're like, what? Yeah, man. Like, and we just run, and that's how a lot of everything about Lignum kind of came about. Like, it's been my circle. It's been, my wife, my daughter had a huge influence on, how we brand it. The type of words we use, like Lignum Gold, taste the experience. I kind of, it's not me. You know what I mean? It's not me at all. If anybody tells you that they come up with a brand and it's holistically them, they're lying. It's not. It's experience. It's your experiences. It's who you have around you that are going to dictate and assist you in molding it into what it really is supposed to be. Wow.
So you talk about your wife and your daughter and your young one too that you guys just had. Congratulations. That family unit, like, how important is it to the success of your business?
Oh, it's the only thing more important to Lignum's success, I would say, is God. God is first and foremost, but then my family is absolutely it. I mean, I grew up in a family where both my parents were ministers, and my mom really had like, I don't know what it is about her. It's funny, I was talking to my cousin, I think it was yesterday, and he's saying, "Yo, Brethren, your mom could set up a sandbar on the beach and sell sand, like legit. Like that's my mom. Like she could sell. It doesn't matter what it is, she will sell it to you. She will make you feel like you absolutely cannot live without it, even if you have 20 of it in your house. It doesn't matter." Right? And we grew up seeing her really try a lot of different things and try a lot of different businesses and be very, very innovative in how she provided for us. Because we didn't grow up rich, right? We grew up, you know, I'd say, you know, under the middle class, definitely, right? We were very blessed. I say that, I don't say that lightly at all. We're extremely blessed. But if you're talking financially, we grew up, you know what I mean, you know, having to survive and having to find ways to survive. And I think that that coupled with my drive to build something that not only makes God proud, but makes my family proud, and something I can pass on and say to my daughter and to my son, like, listen, this is yours. Because while it's great that we have employment and it's great that, you know, we have careers and we build, you know, we climb the ladder and become influential for some of us. I can't turn to my employer and be like, yo, so my son just finished university. He has a job over there, right? But Lignum, when my daughter and my son finish university, they have a spot, no questions asked.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is theirs. This is yours. This is your bread and butter. This is your brand. This is all yours. So that has been a extremely important factor for me, and that is one of my main driving forces. That's why, you know, I try to, you know, get things done. I'll stay up later to get things done. I'll sit up in bed with my phone. Like, you ever see people in bed like this with their phone and they drop the phone and it licks them in their face? Like, that has happened to me so many times. Falling asleep, reading articles about bees, you know, watching YouTube videos, just trying to learn, so that way I set a foundation. So when I, you know, and it could be sooner than later, because I mean, my daughter's 15 and she's already talking about, yeah, man, when I'm done university, I'm taking over Lignum. Like, hold on a second. And I had to really catch myself and go back and be like, no, but this is what it's about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm really driving, and I'm really trying to push this and trying to really show them that you don't have to, and nothing's wrong with going the route of working for people, but you don't have to do that. You have the ability, you have the creativity in you to produce something that is of value, that other people will see as valuable and pay you for it. And now you not only control yourself financially, but you control your time as well. So if you choose to say, you know what, I'm only working 10 months out of the year and the other 2 months I'm literally spending with family, you have the ability to do that.
Right.
So.
Wow. Yeah. Well, big up yourself on that one, because that's the goal, right?
That is it. 100%. It's just to really build, and even with what's going on right now, it's so important, especially nowadays, to build strong families. Strong families build strong communities, right? And which build strong nations. And shout out to Pastor Rob for that one. That's my pastor's, you know, that's from him. It's driving that home and driving it back to, yo, it all starts with your family. That's how you change the world. You start with your family. So that's really what I'm trying to do.
100%. Wow. So you were talking about, you know, staying up late, you know, watching all these documentaries and stuff. What is like some of the most interesting things you've learned about bees?
Oh, the variety of different bees, their behavior, their ability to, I guess one thing that's, I guess, if I was to pinpoint one thing, is their ability to reject or to accept a queen into the colony, right? So bees they need a queen in order to operate. They need somebody in charge. They need someone to kind of deal with that. So a lot of times when either a colony rejects a queen, what they'll do is they'll bundle up around her and they will suffocate her.
Wow.
Right. So it's crazy. Like, I was like, when the first time I saw it, I was like, what? Like, they literally latch onto her in a ball and they suffocate her and kill her, so because they don't accept her, right? And if they don't accept her, then there's no real law or process or procedure to follow for these worker bees to do what they do. So a lot of these farmers, what they have to keep doing is introducing queens in a way to make sure that the drones accept the queen. And that was crazy to me, because at first I didn't even know there, like, I mean, you know that there's a queen bee through, you know, slang and just general knowledge. You know that there's a queen of the bees, but you didn't really understand the role that she had, in addition to the importance to their survival.
Mm.
Right? So
explain the queen bee role to us so that we kind of understand.
Sorry, say that again?
Could you like explain the queen bee role to us so we could kind of like understand?
Yeah, so her role is really to give the bee, I'm going to try and put it in as simple terms as I can, because I recognize not everybody knows, like, you know what I mean? And I'm just learning myself more and more, so I recognize that. But it's her role to really to keep the colony in tip-top shape, right? Keep them on task, give them a procedure to follow. In addition to, she lays the eggs, right? So she lays the eggs that become additional worker bees, right? So if there's no queen, there's no reproduction of drones. There's no, you know what I mean? No goal and strategy and process for the other bees to follow, so to speak. There has to be a queen in the hive.
Mm. Okay, so is there any king bee, or does she just no?
Sorry, we're all worker bees. The guys over here, you know what I mean? But that's really it, though. You know what I mean? It's crazy how nature reflects human behavior a lot of times. You know, I say to a lot of people, you know, as a man, yeah, you know, men can say that they're the leader and they're the head, but listen, women are really the necks, because you can be the head, but if you don't have a neck to direct you where you're supposed to go, you're useless. So, you know what I mean? You can be a head all you want, but if you don't have that neck to kind of guide you as to say, you know what, go this way, look over here, it doesn't mean anything. So.
True. Wow. So I guess you get your honey from a whole bunch of different places, you were saying, in Jamaica, right?
Yes. So as I was saying, you know, honey is depicted as, especially the taste, color, texture of it is depicted on the region in which it's brought from. So like our logwood honey, we get that from a region in Jamaica called St. Elizabeth, where there's an abundance of logwood trees. Our mango blossom honey, we'll get that from a region called St. Thomas, right? Coffee blossom is from Blue Mountains, where all the coffee fields are for Blue Mountain coffee, right? So we'll get our honey in the region that, you know, the taste is specific from. Like, it's not even possible for you to get logwood honey from a region where there's no logwood trees. It just doesn't make, you know what I mean? You just can't get it. So that's why we really try to identify unique tastes of different areas, and bring on honey that we really like and we believe is high quality, and showcase that to the North American and, you know, in the future, the international market.
Okay. All right. So where can we get this honey?
So currently we're in the process of finalizing our website. It's been a task and a labor of love, but it's almost done. Like, almost. We actually praying we should be launching it this weekend. But anybody that wants the honey, we offer delivery in the GTA, so you can DM us directly on our Instagram page, or we have one location that we just got our honey to in Whitby called Just Convenience Jerk Stop. Shout out to Justin. You can visit him. He's in Whitby. You can look them up. You can get our Lignum honey there. And I guess announcement, we have Classic Juice Company, which is run by when I say a great couple great couple. Shout out to you guys if you guys are on. They're located down Coxwell past Danforth. You can look them up. We will be launching our partnership with them on Saturday coming. So we'll actually be down there with our table set up, have some, you know, some bread, some cheeses, some fruits, so everybody can taste the honey, and they can really experience the different flavors for themselves and how to apply it. Because one of the things we're realizing is a lot of people just don't know how to use honey or how they can use honey, right? So we definitely are going to be down there showcasing that. Come through if you guys want, you know, come through and taste. Definitely get some of the juices. If you're into juices, cold pressed juices, these guys are the best in town, hands down. I've never had that good in my life. Like, it's so good. So those are the locations right now that are going to be carrying us. And then once the website's launched, hopefully this weekend, you can go to the website and order directly, and then we'll ship out the honey directly to you.
Nice, nice. So you're super motivated.
Oh,
I mean, you do talk about your faith and your family, so we know that that motivates you 100%. But like, where do you get that daily motivation from? Like every day to keep pressing and keep going?
if I was to say anything other than the factors I've already given, it would be the drive to really be financially free. And when I say financially free, I know, you know, we have a culture where when you say stuff like that, people think, oh, you know, I won $20 million in the lottery and I don't have to do anything. When I say financially free and retired, I mean, I don't have to depend on somebody else for a paycheck. That is extremely important to me. To be able to say to my wife, you know what, I'm a little tired. Let's just hop on a plane and go somewhere for a week. I don't have to worry about, oh, do I have enough vacation days? Is my boss going to say something? Blah, blah, blah. That's my drive personally, is to be able to be at that place where if I get up and I work, it's to benefit me and myself and my family first and foremost. And then, you know, as we grow, I want to impact the further community, right? I want to show other kids, you know, other Black kids specifically, hey, you don't have to go the route of being just an employee. Because if we're honest, our system, our schools, everything teaches our kids to be employees. They don't teach them to be employers, right? Mm-hmm. So if I can be a part of that solution and that image that kids see that, listen, yo, I don't need to work for somebody to earn a decent living and to be able to provide for my family, I can do it. Or, yo, I can do that and do my own thing and bring in, you know, because true wealth is really built off of multiple streams of income, right? So if I can have one income stream here and then do a little hustle thing over here and bring in that money, you know, I'm winning on both sides. So that drive is really just, again, just to be financially free and just to be able to spend as much time with my kids as I can. Because one of my close friends, Todd, shout out to Raquel, taught me and my wife the other day. She said, you know, look at your kids and count how many years you have with them up until they're 18, and then count the weeks. And for every week, get a jar and put a marble in the jar. And that's how much time you typically will have with that child in your home to impact and impart life skills, moral values, and just connect with them on a daily basis before they're out in the world. For most kids, they go off to university, whether they move out or not, they're not in the house as much, right? So when I look at it that way, I'm like, shoot, my daughter's 15. I literally have 3 more years of her in the house, right? In the house all the time before she's either gone off to university or she's in university, and she's involved in so many things that it's literally a, hi, you okay? Yeah, cool. Did you eat? Cool. Gone to bed. You know what I mean? And then my son, same thing. As simple as we take it, 17, 16 years are going to go by like that, right? So it's really just to spend as much time with my family as possible and really just enjoy them and experience them and impart, you know, things, life lessons, everything into them that they're going to need as they go through life.
Wow. So it's so important, I mean, like to be a good example to our children, you know what I mean? Like, you know, because we are that leading example, as you mentioned, for the 18 years. We are the staple for them, you know what I'm saying? So, like, what kind of advice would you give to anybody out there that is looking to start their own type of business, even if it doesn't have anything to do with honey, you know what I mean? But just any type of business at all.
Not to sound cliche or, but it just is what it is pray about it first and foremost. I would suggest that to anybody. Pray about it and really meditate on what you want to do and start to look around you and start to understand who you are as a person. Because I'm a true believer that you cannot sell something, you cannot promote something, you cannot create something effectively if you don't know who you are and it's not in line with your inner truth self. It just won't. It just doesn't make sense to anybody because there'll be a clash, right? It's like me creating a product from New Zealand, so to speak, and promoting it and promoting the New Zealand culture. Eventually, somebody's going to be like, "Well, hold on a second, aren't you Jamaican?" And
Yeah.
they might not even see me. It would be through my branding. It will be very confusing. Like there's a lot of things that what I mean can go wrong with it. I suggest to people all the time, pray about it first, know yourself, and really meditate on what it is you want to do and where you're supposed to be. And if you do that, I trust me, the ideas will come. You will start to see things all around you that you're just like, wait a second, there's an opportunity over there. And now because you know yourself, you can apply your true self to that service or to that product as opposed to giving it a glaze that's not truly you. Because at the end of the day, I believe people will always see your integrity and see who your true self through conversation, through your product, through interaction. If you're not true, people will smell it out, right? And when people smell a phony, they're like, it's okay. No matter what you're selling, I don't even want it. It doesn't matter how good it is, right?
Yeah.
But when you're your true self, it just beams out and people draw to whoever you are, if you're a public speaker, if you're selling a product or a service, they get drawn to it. So you try to really understand who you are, and document. If you get an idea and there's sometimes I'm literally on the highway on the 401 going from east to west or back and forth or whatever, and I get an idea and I just put on my hazards and pull off on the highway. I just start typing in my phone and write the idea down, or I'll voice note it, or I'll call my wife and be like, yo, I was just thinking about this, and she'll write it down so when I get home I can transfer it to my phone. Because those things, a lot of the ideas I did that with came into and are factors into building Lignum. Yes, the idea of importing and selling honey just came last year, but a lot of the foundational pieces came years ago. And I have them if I pull up my phone, I can show you where they are and the date stamp and everything that I wrote them because I documented, right? And it's so important to document your journey in life. Document because you can look back on it and appreciate where you're coming from and look back and see the value and how to apply that to where you want to go in life. So that would be my advice. A little long-winded, but yeah, that's the formula that I believe has gotten me to this point.
So, like, how important is documenting stuff down? You said, like, you've had things from the past that you write down, but, like, I mean, I take a lot of notes too, but how do you encourage people to take notes? Is it just about taking notes, or do you got to look back on those notes? Do you got to review your
I
notes?
think you touched on the second most important step after documented is reviewing, right? Sometimes I sit down and I just go through the notes and I reread them, right? And that sometimes triggers thought patterns in my mind that leads to applications for what I'm either doing at work or I'm doing with Lignum, right? And there's so much value in our thoughts, and I feel like in today's society we're so busy that we don't even have time to sit down to hear ourselves think. Right? But if we really sit down, we can reveal a lot of about ourselves to ourselves. I know that sounds weird, but nobody knows us better than ourselves. And sometimes if we sit down, we can really understand a lot, which then translates to, strategies for life, whether it's your employment or whether it's a business, whether it's a relationship, whether it's, just somewhere you want to go. You can really understand a lot. So reviewing those notes is extremely important. It's not just documenting them and, throwing them away, but it's important for yourself, but it's also important, in my case, it's very important for my kids. So I've sat down with my daughter from time to time and I've been like, look, here are all the ideas. And she's like, wait, you thought about that like 2-3 years ago? Yeah. I didn't know what value it would hold. I didn't know when it would become applicable, but I knew that it would be important in some way, somehow. And it might not be to me. Who knows? She might take that file in 5, 6, 10 years and look it over and see something in there that triggers a creative process in herself that allows her to create something. Right? We're not just, a lot of people, they focus on just the financial inheritance we leave for our kids. It's not just financial. It's spiritual, it's mental, it's creative, it's emotional, it's all of that. The inheritance we leave to our kids is so much more than just money, right? So I try to document it for all those reasons because I see the value and I understand the value.
Yeah, so you were mentioning too, like, sometimes it's hard for us to have time to sit down with ourselves.
Right.
But I find now during this COVID-19 situation, people have changed, like we are having a little bit more time to sit with ourselves. You know what I mean? So like, what are your thoughts on the situation right now about like what we're going through and stuff?
Well, the pandemic as a whole and the effect it's having on people and literally lives is that's horrible. It's a horrible thing. I mean, I have friends and family, like I've lost family to COVID. And it's a hard thing to lose anybody, even, especially when it's something that is not natural, right? Losing somebody that's 95, that, their body's breaking down on them, that's one thing, right? But losing somebody that's 45 or 25 or, you know what I mean, that got a disease or, such as COVID, it's horrible. It's a horrible thing to go through. But a lot of times, and I think I posted about it, what I try to do is, while trying to live life in a safe way that protects me and my family, I also am trying to make my actions reflect my hopes, not my fears. So a lot of people, they're going about this whole COVID and isolation and quarantine, and they're living out their fears. While they're in quarantine, they're binge watching, and nothing wrong with watching TV or entertainment or anything like that, but they're binge watching, they're doing things that don't propel them. Don't get it twisted, I do the same things from time to time. Like, I'm an avid video game player, so sometimes I'll sit here for hours and play Call of Duty, right? So we all have our vices, right, that we have to kind of manage and get a handle on. But I try every day to do things and to alter the things and the actions I do to showcase my hopes, right? My hope of financial freedom, my hope of building something for my family, those hopes, as opposed to my fear of, oh my gosh, this pandemic is making everybody lose their jobs. Oh my God, this pandemic, when is it going to end? When is it going to be business as usual? When is it? I'm not focusing on that because I can't control whether or not, I mean, to a degree I can, but I can't really control if I can contract COVID or not. But what I can control is what I look like when I come out of this pandemic. I can control the position I'm in for me to either take off or fall flat on my face. Right. And that's really, what I try to do on a day-to-day basis is try to do things that are going to put me in a position for success, whether it's, and you mentioned, looking over the notes, like one of the things I try to do is before I start work in the morning, I try to get up and meditate. I try to do some form of physical exercise, whether it's stretching. I do my devotions in the morning. I try to just sit by myself, no kids, no wife, no nothing, just me and God time and me time, and really just reflect and strategize on how I'm going to tackle what I need to tackle for the day and how that fits into my larger plan. And I find that when I do that, because I'll be honest, I miss days, like especially when I'm up later. I'm just like, I'm not doing it this day. I'm just gonna sleep in. And I see the effect it has on my day. I'm not as productive. I'm not as driven. I'm not as motivated. I'm not as focused. So that's really how I look at this whole pandemic and quarantine situation. Yes, it's horrible that any loss of life is horrible. It's absolutely horrible.